The gift box felt heavier with each step Aiden took through the forest trail. 45 minutes late, Damien was going to be furious. He picked up his pace, branches scratching at his designer suit as he navigated the familiar path to Eternal Falls. The emergency board meeting had run longer than expected, stakeholders arguing about quarterly projections while he kept checking his watch, anxiety building in his chest. Their 7th anniversary, 7 years of marriage, and he'd never missed a single celebration. Until tonight. His phone buzzed again. He didn't look. Probably another passive-aggressive text from Damien's mother about how he was neglecting her precious son. The woman had made it her life's mission to remind Aiden he wasn't good enough for their family, despite the fact that his inheritance kept their lavish lifestyle afloat. The trees opened up ahead, and he could see the soft glow of fairy lights strung between the branches. His heart squeezed. Damien had actually set everything up. Their spot overlooking the cliff. The pavilion where they'd shared their first kiss 8 years ago. Champagne on ice, candles flickering in crystal holders, rose petals scattered across the stone pathway. He'd forgiven him. Relief flooded through Aiden as he adjusted his grip on the gift box, a vintage Patek Philippe he'd spent 3 months tracking down. Damien had mentioned wanting it once, casually, and Aiden had remembered. He always remembered. Voices drifted toward him in the evening breeze. Aiden smiled, thinking Damien might be on the phone, probably complaining to Cole about his perpetually late husband. Cole Martinez, Damien's best friend since college, the man who'd been his best man at their wedding, who came over for dinner twice a week. The smile died on Aiden's lips. He stopped walking, heart suddenly pounding against his ribs. Those weren't phone conversation voices. That was laughter. Low and intimate, the kind of laughter that made his stomach turn. Aiden moved closer, careful to stay in the shadows of the trees. The pavilion came into full view, bathed in golden light from the fairy lights he'd helped string up last anniversary. The champagne he'd paid for sat sweating in its ice bucket. The candles he'd bought flickered in the wind, and there, pressed against the railing overlooking the cliff, were Damien and Cole, kissing. Not a friendly peck. Not an accidental brush of lips. Damien's hands were tangled in Cole's dark hair, Cole's palms sliding under Damien's shirt. Both of them pressed so close together, they looked like one person. Damien made a sound, a moan that Aiden recognized, that he'd thought was reserved only for him. The gift box slipped from Aiden's hands. It hit the stone pathway with a crash that shattered the night's stillness. The watch inside probably broke. 3 months of searching, gone. But Aiden couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't think past the image now burned into his brain. Damien and Cole broke apart, turning toward the sound. For a moment, nobody moved. Damien's lips were swollen, his shirt untucked. Cole's hair was a mess, guilt flashing across his handsome face before it smoothed into something worse. Indifference. Aiden! Damien's voice held no surprise, no shame, just annoyance. You're late. How long? Aiden's voice came out broken, barely above a whisper. He hated how weak he sounded, how his hands trembled at his sides. How long have you? Does it matter? Damien stepped away from Cole, straightening his clothes with casual ease. A smirk played at the corner of his mouth, the same mouth that had promised to love Aiden forever. You were always too pathetic to notice anyway. The words hit harder than a physical blow. Aiden stumbled back a step, his shoe crunching on the broken gift box. Damien, please. Oh, this is precious. Cole laughed, actually laughed, as he moved to stand beside Damien. He really had no clue. Why would he? Damien shrugged, reaching for the champagne bottle. He popped it open like they were celebrating. Aiden's always been the perfect little ATM machine. Show up, sign checks, ask no questions. 3 years, Aiden. Damien poured champagne into 2 glasses, handed one to Cole. 3 years I've been with Cole. 3 years you were too busy being the obedient husband to notice I came home smelling like him. That I stopped touching you unless I needed something signed. Aiden's mind raced backward, trying to find the lie in Damien's words, but memories crashed over him like waves. Damien's increasing coldness, the separate bedrooms they'd moved to because of his snoring, the business trips that always included Cole. The way Damien's family had gotten bolder with their insults. You're nothing without our name, Damien's mother had said last month, after Aiden had paid for her new Mercedes. My brother could do so much better, Damien's sister had sneered, while Aiden wrote another check for her shopping addiction. You're lucky we let you stay in this family, Damien's father had stated, as Aiden transferred more money to cover his gambling debts. And through it all, Damien had stood by silently, because he'd been planning this. Love? Damien took a long sip of champagne, his eyes cold in the candlelight. You actually thought I loved you? I married you for the Ford fortune, you idiot. Your family's money, your company shares, your trust fund. Why else would someone like me marry someone like you? Each word was a knife twisting deeper. Aiden felt tears streaming down his face and hated himself for it. Then I'll give you a divorce. You can have whatever you want. Just let me go. He turned to leave, to run, to get as far away from this nightmare as possible. I don't think so. Damien's voice went from mocking to deadly serious. Aiden froze, slowly turning back. Damien had set down his glass. Cole had moved, blocking the path back to the forest. They were backing him toward the cliff edge. You think I'll let you walk away? Damien stepped closer, and Aiden backed up, his heel hitting the pavilion's edge. You think I'll risk you talking, exposing everything? I won't say anything, I promise. The company's already half transferred to offshore accounts. Damien's smile was cruel now, all pretense of civility gone. We've been siphoning money for months. Once you're gone, your grieving husband inherits everything. Clean, simple, legal. The words took a moment to penetrate Aiden's fear. Gone? Damien? Oh, what are you? Did you really think we set this up for romance? Cole laughed, moving closer. The isolated location, the cliff, the champagne to make it look like you were drunk? It's perfect. Aiden's blood turned to ice. No, please. He tried to run. Damien grabbed his arm, yanking him back. Aiden struggled, but Cole was there too, both of them stronger, pushing him toward the railing. The cliff edge, the 100-foot drop to the churning water below. Damien, please! 7 years! That has to mean something. It means I'm a better actor than I thought. Damien's hands shoved hard against Aiden's chest. Aiden's back hit the railing. He grappled for purchase, fingers catching Damien's jacket. Don't do this! Cole's hands joined Damien's, pushing. The railing cracked under the pressure. Aiden's scream tore through the night as his weight carried him backward. The world tilted. He fell. Wind rushed past his ears, drowning out his screams. The fairy lights became distant stars. He caught one last glimpse of Damien and Cole peering over the edge. Damien casually dusting off his hands like he'd just taken out the trash. Then water. Cold. Dark. All-consuming. Aiden's body hit the surface like concrete, the impact stealing the air from his lungs. Pain exploded through his leg, his ribs, his head. Water filled his mouth, his nose. He tried to swim but couldn't tell which way was up. This is how I die, he thought as darkness crept into his vision. Murdered by the man I loved. Everything went black. The waves carried Aiden's unconscious body through the night, depositing him on a rocky shore miles from eternal falls. Dawn broke pink and gold across the horizon, illuminating a private beach where a man walked alone. Dr. Robert Chen had come to his beach house to escape grief, to forget the husband he'd lost to suicide 6 months ago. He'd expected solitude, peace, time to heal. He hadn't expected to find a broken body among the rocks. Robert ran toward the figure, medical training overriding shock. He checked for a pulse. Faint, thready, but there. The man was young, mid-20s maybe, with delicate features now marred by bruises and cuts. His leg was bent at an unnatural angle. Broken, blood matted his dark hair. Can you hear me? Robert checked his airways, tilted his head back. Stay with me. No response. Robert looked around. His beach house was the only structure for the miles. No phone signal out here. He'd chosen this place specifically for its isolation. The nearest hospital was an hour away. The man would die before they made it. All right, Robert made his decision, carefully lifting the unconscious stranger. Let's get you inside. He carried him up the beach path to his house, kicked open the door, and laid him on the dining table he quickly cleared. His medical bag was still unpacked from his last shift at the hospital. Robert worked fast, cutting away wet clothes, assessing injuries. setting the broken leg with practiced efficiency, cracked ribs, severe head trauma, possible internal bleeding. The man should be dead, but his heart kept beating. Robert worked through the day and into the night, hooking up IV fluids, administering antibiotics, monitoring vitals. The stranger remained unconscious, caught in some place between life and death. "Who are you?" Robert murmured, cleaning the blood from the man's face. "What happened to you?" No answer, just the steady beep of the heart monitor Robert had set up. Outside, the ocean continued its eternal rhythm, keeping secrets. 2 weeks later, 300 miles away at Ford Empire headquarters, a sleek black Mercedes pulled up to the marble entrance. Employees hurried about their morning routines, none paying attention to the car until its door opened. A man stepped out. The receptionist's coffee cup slipped from her hands, shattering on the polished floor. She wasn't alone. Everyone in the lobby froze, staring. He looked exactly like Aiden Ford, same height, same build, same face. But where Aiden moved with gentle hesitance, this man strode through the lobby with confident swagger. Where Aiden dressed conservatively, this man wore a leather jacket over a designer shirt, rings on his fingers, an edge to him that spoke of a different life. Caden Ford, the black sheep twin, the one who'd walked away from the family empire 10 years ago to build his own fashion dynasty, had returned. He didn't acknowledge the stares as he crossed to the elevators, designer boots clicking against marble. The doors open. He stepped inside, hit the button for the executive floor. In his penthouse office, Damien Chen stood by the window reviewing spreadsheets of Aiden's accounts he was slowly draining. His secretary burst through the door without knocking. "Sir," her face was white. "Mr. Aiden, he's here." The wine glass in Damien's hand shattered against the floor, deep reds spreading across white carpet like blood. "That's impossible." His voice came out strangled. "I watched him die." The elevator dinged on the executive floor. Caden stepped out, eyes scanning the familiar hallway he'd avoided for a decade. His brother's assistant stood frozen outside the main office, trembling. Caden smiled, sharp and dangerous. Nothing like Aiden's gentle expressions. "Hello," he said pleasantly. "I'm looking for my brother's husband. I believe we have much to discuss." 1 week earlier, Caden Ford had been in Milan when the call came. "Mr. Ford, I'm terribly sorry to inform you that your brother, Aiden, has passed away in a tragic accident." He'd hung up mid-sentence, booked the next flight home, and arrived just in time for what had to be the smallest, most pathetic funeral he'd ever seen. 20 people maximum, half of them, Damien's family, looking appropriately somber while probably calculating their inheritance shares. Caden watched from the back of the cemetery, hidden behind an elaborate marble monument. He'd worn sunglasses and a baseball cap. Nobody here would recognize him anyway. The black sheep who'd abandoned the family business for fashion design wasn't exactly on the Ford Christmas card list. Damien stood at the graveside in an expensive black suit, dabbing at dry eyes with a handkerchief. Oscar-worthy performance. Beside him, too close for a best friend, stood Cole Martinez, hand resting on Damien's shoulder in what was supposed to look like comfort. "Such a tragedy," Damien's voice carried across the cemetery. He was walking along Eternal Falls, a romantic evening walk, must have slipped. "The police say he'd been drinking." Caden's jaw clenched. Aiden didn't drink. Not more than a glass of wine with dinner anyway. "At least he didn't suffer," Cole added, voice dripping with false sympathy. "The fall would have killed him instantly." A woman in the small crowd sniffled. "Poor Damien, 7 years of marriage, and now alone. He'll inherit everything at least," someone whispered. "The Ford fortune." Caden turned and walked away before he did something stupid like punch a mourner. His brother was dead. Someone was lying about how it happened. And he was going to find out the truth, even if he had to become Aiden to do it. Now, standing in the executive elevator of Ford Empire headquarters, Caden checked his reflection in the polished doors. He ditched the leather jacket for one of Aiden's conservative Tom Ford suits he'd found in the penthouse. Styled his hair the way Aiden used to wear it, neat, professional, boring as hell. Removed most of his rings, leaving only the wedding band he'd taken from Aiden's apartment. The elevator dinged. Caden put on his best confused Aiden expression and stepped out. Damien's office door was already open, the man himself standing in the center of the room, face pale as a ghost. Wine stained the carpet at his feet, shattered glass glittering like diamonds. "Hello, darling," Caden said softly, channeling every ounce of Aiden's gentle tone. "Did you miss me?" "You're dead." Damien's voice came out strangled. "I saw you fall. I watched you." He cut himself off, but Caden caught it. Watched him fall. Not heard about the fall. Watched. "Fall?" Caden tilted his head, genuinely confused expression in place. "Damien, what are you talking about? I've been in Milan for our anniversary collection launch. Did you forget? We talked about it last month." No, there was a body, a funeral. I buried you." The office door burst open. Cole Martinez stumbled in, froze when he saw Caden, and went white as paper. "Interesting. Cole." Caden smiled warmly, the way Aiden always did when greeting his best friend. "Good to see you. Can you tell me what's wrong with Damien? He seems to think I died." Cole's mouth opened and closed like a fish. His hands trembled visibly. You were the cliff. "I think you both need to sit down." Caden guided Damien to his desk chair, playing the concerned husband perfectly. "Maybe call Dr. Morrison? This seems like some kind of episode." "Don't touch me!" Damien jerked away from Caden's hand, eyes wild. "You fell 100 feet into the water. No one survives that. No one." "I think I'd remember dying, love." Caden kept his voice patient, gentle. Inside, he was cataloging every word, every reaction. They'd pushed Aiden off a cliff. They'd murdered his brother. "The last thing I remember is boarding my flight to Milan. I just got back this morning and came straight here to surprise you." "This is impossible," Cole whispered. "We checked. We made sure. You were dead." "We?" Caden let confusion bleed into his voice. "Who's we? What's going on?" Damien stood abruptly, grabbing his phone. "I'm calling for a DNA test, right now." "DNA test?" Caden blinked. "For what?" "To prove you're not my husband. You're someone else, an imposter." "Maybe his..." Damien stopped, calculation flickering behind the panic. "Maybe you're Caden, the twin brother, trying to steal Aiden's identity." Oh, this was rich. Caden almost laughed but caught himself. "If that would make you feel better, then of course, I'll take any test you want." Because identical twins shared DNA. These idiots were about to prove he was Aiden Ford. 3 hours later, in the sterile privacy of the city's most exclusive medical lab, Caden sat patiently while a technician drew his blood. Damien watched from across the room like a hawk, Cole beside him, both radiating tension. "Results will be ready in 2 hours, the doctor said. "We're doing a full genetic profile, comparing against Mr. Ford's medical records on file." "Make it an hour," Damien demanded. "Money's no object." The wait was excruciating. Caden scrolled through his phone, through the burner phone he'd bought that morning. He dumped Aiden's phone in a river, not wanting to see the desperate messages his brother had probably sent before dying. Finally, the doctor returned, folder in hand. "Well?" Damien stood. "Is he an imposter or not?" The doctor looked confused. "Sir, the DNA is a 100% match to Aiden Ford's records. This is definitely your husband." Damien snatched the folder, scanning results he clearly didn't understand. "That's impossible. Run it again." "Sir, I ran it 3 times to be certain. Genetic markers, blood type, everything matches perfectly. This is Aiden Ford." Cole gripped the armrest of his chair, knuckles white. Damien's hands shook, papers fluttering to the ground. Caden stood, straightening Aiden's boring tie. "Can we go home now?" "I'm exhausted from traveling, and honestly, this whole thing has been rather hurtful." "How?" Damien whispered. "How are you alive?" "I never died, darling." Caden placed a hand on Damien's shoulder, felt him flinch. "Whatever you think happened, maybe you should talk to someone. Grief can cause hallucinations." He walked out, leaving them drowning in confusion and fear. Perfect. That night, alone in Aiden's penthouse, his penthouse now, Caden finally let the mask drop. He stood in his brother's study, surrounded by evidence of a life lived quietly, gently. Photos of Aiden and Damien on their wedding day, both smiling. Aiden's smile genuine, Damien's practiced. Caden's hands clenched into fists. The desk drawer was locked. Caden picked it in 30 seconds. Perks of a misspent youth. Inside, he found Aiden's personal journal, leather-bound and worn. The last entry was dated 2 weeks ago. "Tonight's our anniversary. I'm nervous. I found discrepancies in our accounts, large transfers to offshore holdings I don't recognize. Damien's been secretive about finances lately. I'm probably being paranoid, but I need to ask him about it tonight. I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation. There always is. I trust him. Caden's vision blurred. His sweet, trusting brother had discovered Damien's theft and signed his own death warrant. I'm so sorry, Aiden, he whispered to the empty room. I should have been here, should have protected you. His phone buzzed, unknown number. Caden answered. Mr. Ford, this is Detective Marcus Chen. I'm the private investigator you hired this morning. What did you find? It's complicated. Can we meet? Tomorrow. No. Send me the address. Caden hung up, turned back to the journal. There had to be more clues here, more evidence of what Damien had been planning. A soft knock at the door made him freeze. Aiden? Damien's voice, tentative. Can I come in? Caden shoved the journal into his jacket, schooled his features into Aiden's gentle expression. Of course. Damien entered carrying a tray. Breakfast in bed, or rather, breakfast for the study. Coffee, croissants, fruit. The picture of a devoted husband. I wanted to apologize, Damien said, setting the tray down. I've been under a lot of stress with work, and when I had that episode, I said terrible things. It's all right, Caden forced a soft smile. We all have bad days. Damien moved closer, pressed a kiss to Caden's forehead. Every muscle in Caden's body screamed to pull away, to punch him, but he held still. I'm glad you're back, Damien murmured. I don't know what I'd do without you. You'd spend my brother's money with your lover, Caden thought. Out loud, I'm not going anywhere. After Damien left, Caden dumped the coffee down the sink. He wasn't stupid enough to drink anything this man prepared. The emergency stakeholder meeting was called for Friday morning, 3 days after Caden's return. He sat at the head of the conference table, Aiden's usual seat, while 20 shareholders filed in looking concerned. Thank you all for coming, the senior stakeholder, Mr. Harrison, began. We've called this meeting because several of us have noticed changes in your behavior, Aiden. Changes? Caden kept his voice mild. You fired 3 of your mother-in-law's friends from their positions? Another shareholder, Mrs. Chen said carefully. You've been questioning financial decisions that were already approved. You seem different, more assertive. Almost dying changes a person, Caden said quietly, letting real emotion bleed through. I was in Milan when I had a health scare. It made me realize I've been too passive, too willing to let others make decisions. This is my family's company. I should act like it. What health scare? Damien spoke up from his seat near the door, playing concerned husband again. You never mentioned. Because you never asked. Caden met his eyes steadily. You were too busy with Cole. Gasps around the table. Damien's face flushed. Furthermore, Caden continued, pulling out documents he'd prepared, I've noticed some discrepancies in our accounts. Large transfers to offshore holdings, none properly documented. I'm bringing in an independent auditor. Aiden, perhaps you need rest, Damien started. I found irregular transfers totaling $50 million, Caden stated flatly. Money that left our accounts and disappeared. Can you explain that, Damien? Since you're our CFO? The room went silent. Shareholders exchanged glances. Those were approved investments. Show me the approval forms. Damien's jaw tightened. I don't appreciate being interrogated, and I don't appreciate my family's fortune being stolen. Caden stood. Anyone who has a problem with me protecting this company is welcome to sell their shares. Otherwise, I suggest we all start taking our responsibilities seriously. The door burst open. Damien's mother swept in, dripping in diamonds purchased with Ford money. How dare you speak to my son that way? She pointed a manicured finger at Caden. You worthless little, get out. Caden's voice dropped to ice. You're not a shareholder. You have no business here. I have every right. You have rights I give you. And right now, I'm giving you 10 seconds to leave before I have security remove you. She stared, shocked. The old Aiden would never have spoken to her this way. You're not Aiden, she whispered. I don't know who you are, but you're not him. Caden smiled, sharp and dangerous. I'm exactly who I've always been. You just never bothered to look. Security escorted her out, her protest echoing down the hallway. The meeting concluded in tense silence. Shareholders left looking troubled. Damien remained, staring at Caden like he was a stranger. Oh, what happened to you in Milan? He asked quietly. I woke up. Caden gathered his papers. That's all. 200 miles away, in a beach house where ocean waves provided the only sound, Aiden's eyes opened for the first time in 2 weeks. He screamed. Robert rushed in from the kitchen, dropping the coffee mug he'd been holding. Hey, it's okay. You're safe. But Aiden wasn't listening. He was drowning again, feeling hands pushing him, falling through darkness. Damien's face above him, cold and merciless. He tried to kill me, Aiden sobbed as Robert held him. My husband tried to kill me. Robert's arms tightened around him. You're safe now. I promise, you're safe. But across the city, in a darkened office, Damien picked up his phone and dialed a number he'd hoped never to use. I don't care if the DNA matched, he said quietly. That's not Aiden. I need you to handle this, permanently. Aiden's legs screamed with pain as he tried to stand, collapsing back onto the bed with a gasp. 2 weeks since he'd woken from the coma, and physical therapy still felt like torture. Easy. Robert appeared in the doorway, coffee mugs in hand. You're pushing too hard again. I need to walk. Aiden gritted his teeth, gripping the parallel bars Robert had set up in the beach house's main room. I can't just lie here forever. You had a compound fracture. These things take time. Robert set down the mugs and moved behind him, hands steadying Aiden's waist as he attempted another step. The touch was professional, clinical, but Aiden's heart still raced at the contact. One more, Robert encouraged. You've got this. Aiden managed 3 steps before his leg buckled. Robert caught him easily, strong arms wrapping around his chest, and for a moment they stood frozen. Robert's breath warm against Aiden's neck, their bodies pressed close. Sorry, Aiden whispered, not sure what he was apologizing for. Don't be. Robert's voice was rough. He helped Aiden back to the couch, careful and gentle. You're doing amazing. A week ago, you couldn't stand at all. Aiden sank into the cushions, accepting the coffee Robert handed him. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the ocean stretched endlessly, waves rolling in their eternal rhythm. This place felt like another world. No news, no phones, no reminders of the life he'd lost. Tell me about your husband, Aiden said quietly. You said he died 6 months ago? Robert's expression shuddered. He sat in the armchair across from Aiden, fingers tight around his mug. Marcus, we were together for 5 years. He was brilliant, an artist, a dreamer, too trusting. What happened? He met someone online, an investor supposedly, said he could help Marcus get his work into galleries, make him famous. Robert's laugh was bitter. Turned out to be a con artist. Took everything. Our savings, Marcus's trust fund, even convinced him to take out loans. By the time we realized we were $500,000 in debt, Aiden's chest tightened. I'm so sorry. Marcus couldn't handle it. The shame, the guilt. Robert stopped, swallowed hard. I came home one day and found him in the bathtub. He'd left a note saying he was sorry, that he'd ruined everything. Robert, I should have seen the signs, should have protected him better. Robert set down his mug with shaking hands. That's why I came here. Took a sabbatical from the hospital, bought this place and tried to forget. Without thinking, Aiden reached across the space between them, hand finding Robert's. It wasn't your fault. You can't blame yourself for someone else's cruelty. Robert looked at their joined hands, then up at Aiden. Something shifted in his expression, softening, warming. Neither can you. The words hit home. Aiden had spent 2 weeks crying over Damien's betrayal, wondering what he'd done wrong, how he'd failed to be enough. 7 years, Aiden said hoarsely. I gave him 7 years. I endured his family's abuse, their constant insults, draining my inheritance to fund their lifestyles, and the whole time he was planning to kill me. Hey, Robert moved to sit beside him on the couch, arms sliding around Aiden's shoulders. You love genuinely. That's never wrong. He's the monster, not you. Aiden leaned into the embrace, breathing in Robert's scent, coffee and sea salt and something uniquely him. How did you get past it? The anger? The betrayal? I haven't. Robert's hand traced absent patterns on Aiden's shoulder. But being here helps. And now, having someone who understands helps too. They sat like that as afternoon faded to evening, the ocean painting itself gold and crimson. Robert made dinner, pasta with fresh vegetables from the garden. Nothing fancy but delicious. They ate on the porch, talking about everything and nothing. Aiden learned Robert had gone to Johns Hopkins, was a world-renowned cardiac surgeon, had operated on celebrities and politicians. "Why doctoring?" Aiden asked. "My father was a doctor. Terrible person. Brilliant surgeon." Robert poured more wine. "Oh, I wanted to prove I could be better than him. Better at medicine. Better at being human. I think you succeeded." Robert's smile was soft in the candlelight. "What about you? Did you always want to run a business empire?" "God, no." Aiden laughed, surprising himself. "I wanted to be a librarian. Quiet, peaceful, surrounded by books. But I was the older twin, the responsible one. Caden got to run off and pursue fashion, and I got to stay and manage the family legacy." "You have a twin?" "Had." Aiden's throat tightened. "We weren't close. He left when we were 18, started his own company. I haven't seen him in years." Robert squeezed his hand. "Maybe when you're healed, you could reach out, reconnect. Maybe." 300 miles away, Caden was having a significantly less peaceful evening. "You've got to be kidding me," he muttered, staring at his car's scratched door. He'd been distracted, thinking about Damien, the investigation going nowhere, the fake audit reports that proved nothing, and had nearly crashed into an expensive silver Aston Martin. The driver's door of the Aston Martin opened. Out stepped a man who looked like he'd walked straight out of a cologne ad, 6 feet of solid muscle, tattooed arms visible beneath a black t-shirt, dark hair styled in that effortlessly messy way that probably took an hour. Bad boy vibes radiated off him like heat. "Like what you see." The man's voice was deep, cocky, with a smirk that should have been illegal. Caden caught himself staring and scowled. "I scratched your car. Sorry. Here's my card. We'll settle this later. I'm late for an appointment." He thrust his business card forward, already moving back to his car. "Whoa, hold up." The man caught his wrist and Caden froze at the contact. "You crash into my car and just leave? That's not how this works, sweetheart." "Don't call me sweetheart," Caden snapped, yanking his arm free. "And yes, that's exactly how this works. You have my information. Send me the repair bill." "Unbelievable." The man laughed, actually laughed. "You're seriously just going to—" "Yes." Caden climbed into his car. "Some of us have actual problems to deal with. Not everyone can spend their evening posturing over a scratch." "Posturing? You damaged my—" Caden slammed the door and drove off, leaving the gorgeous stranger gaping in his rearview mirror. At the club, Caden threw back his third whiskey and hit the dance floor. The music pounded through his body, bass vibrating in his chest, and for a few blessed minutes he forgot about Damien, about the investigation hitting walls, about his murdered brother. Then he collided with someone on the dance floor. "You've got to be fucking kidding me." It was him, car guy, looking even better in the club's colored lights, all sharp edges and dangerous energy. "Well, well," car guy's smirk widened. "Fancy meeting you here, hit and run." "It wasn't a hit and run, it was a strategic retreat." Caden tried to push past him, but the crowd was too thick. "Strategic retreat? That's what we're calling cowardice now?" "Cowardice?" Caden spun back, getting in the man's face. "You want to talk about cowardice? You're the one who what?" Car guy stepped closer, and God, he smelled good. "Finish that sentence." Caden lost his train of thought. "You're annoying. You're pretty when you're flustered." "I'm not flustered." "Adorable." Car guy signaled the bartender. "Shot contest. You win. I forgive the scratch." "I win. You buy me dinner." "That's a terrible bet." "Scared you'll lose?" Caden's competitive streak flared. "You're on." 6 shots later, they were both laughing, inhibitions drowned in expensive tequila. Car guy, Raphael, he'd finally introduced himself, had an arm slung over Caden's shoulders as they swayed to the music. "You're not what I expected," Raphael said, lips close to Caden's ear to be heard over the bass. "What did you expect?" "Aiden Ford, billionaire heir, all buttoned up and proper." Raphael's hands slid down to Caden's waist. "But you're chaotic." "I like it." Caden should correct him, explain he wasn't actually Aiden. But Raphael's hands felt good, and his smile was dangerous, and Caden had been stressed for weeks. "Want to get out of here?" The words left his mouth before his brain could stop them. Raphael's grin was wicked. "Thought you'd never ask." Caden woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar floor-to-ceiling windows. His head pounded, his body ached in pleasant ways, and he was very, very naked. Memories of the previous night flooded back. Raphael's penthouse, expensive sheets, hands and mouths and heat. He'd needed the release, the distraction, the reminder that he was alive even if his brother wasn't. Beside him, Raphael slept peacefully, one tattooed arm thrown over his eyes. Caden slipped out of bed quietly, found his scattered clothes, dressed in silence. On the nightstand, he left $500, more than enough to cover the car scratch and then some. He was halfway to the door when Raphael's voice stopped him. "Leaving money? Classy." Caden didn't turn around. "Consider it payment for services rendered." "Ouch." Raphael sounded amused rather than offended. "And here I thought we had a connection. We had tequila and questionable judgment. Nothing more." He left before Raphael could respond, taking the stairs instead of waiting for the elevator. His phone buzzed with messages from his assistant. Another meeting, more shareholders questioning his erratic behavior, Damien asking to have lunch. Caden deleted them all except one from Detective Chen. "Found something. Meet me at the usual spot. 3 p.m. Finally, progress." At the beach house, Aiden and Robert had fallen into comfortable routines. Morning physical therapy, afternoon reading on the porch, evening movie nights. It had been 2 months since the accident, and Aiden could walk again, carefully with a cane, but independently. Robert had become his anchor, the person who made him laugh when depression threatened to swallow him whole, who held him through nightmares about falling, drowning, dying. Tonight's movie was some romantic comedy neither of them were really watching. Aiden was too aware of Robert beside him on the couch, their thighs touching. Robert's arms stretched along the back of the cushions. "Aiden," Robert said softly. Aiden turned, found Robert's face inches from his own. "Yeah? I'm going to kiss you now. If you don't want that, tell me to stop." Aiden's heart hammered. "Don't stop." Robert's lips met his, gentle, questioning, giving Aiden every opportunity to pull away. But Aiden didn't want to pull away. He wanted this. I wanted Robert, wanted to feel something besides pain and betrayal. The kiss deepened. Robert's hand cupped his jaw, thumb stroking his cheekbone. Aiden's fingers tangled in Robert's hair. They moved together like they'd been doing this forever, like their bodies had been waiting to find each other. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Robert rested his forehead against Aiden's. "I wasn't looking for this," Robert whispered. "Neither was I. But I'm glad I found you." Aiden kissed him again, softer this time. "Stay with me tonight?" "Always." They moved to Robert's bedroom, and for the first time since the cliff, Aiden felt safe, felt wanted, felt like maybe he could heal after all. 2 months after the accident, Robert finally handed Aiden a phone. "You're strong enough now," Robert said, though his expression was worried. "You should be able to contact the outside world if you want." Aiden took the phone hesitantly. Part of him didn't want to know what had happened in his absence, but he couldn't hide forever. He scrolled through news apps searching his own name. The headline hit him like a physical blow. Ford Empire heir under investigation for $50 million. Embezzlement, below it, a photo, his face, his name. But the man in the picture stood differently, held himself with a confidence Aiden had never possessed. "Robert," his voice came out strangled. "Robert, come here." Robert rushed over, took one look at Aiden's white face, the trembling phone. "What is it?" "That's not me." Aiden pointed at the screen with a shaking finger. "That's my brother. That's Caden." Understanding dawned in Robert's eyes. "Your twin. He must have come back when I was declared dead. He's pretending to be me." Aiden's mind raced. "Oh God, Damien will kill him. He tried to kill me for the money. He won't let Caden stand in his way either." "Aiden, calm down. We have to go back. Now." Aiden stood too fast, pain shooting through his leg. "Caden doesn't know what Damien is capable of. He's in danger." "Going back puts you in danger." "He's my brother." Tears streamed down Aiden's face. "I haven't been there for him in 10 years. I can't let him die because of me." Robert pulled him close, held him tight. Okay, we'll go. But we do this smartly. We need help." "What kind of help?" Robert pulled out his own phone, dialed a number. The kind that comes with guns and no moral qualms about using them. "We're calling my brother." Raphael's mansion was everything Aiden expected from a Mafia boss. Marble floors, priceless art, armed guards at every entrance. Robert led him through the foyer, supporting his weight as Aiden's leg protested the journey. "Robbie!" A familiar voice echoed through the hallway. Raphael appeared, expensive suit perfectly tailored, that same cocky grin Aiden remembered from news photos. You finally decided to visit your favorite. He stopped dead, staring at Aiden. Raphael, this is Aiden, Robert said carefully. My boyfriend, he needs our help. Aiden! Raphael's eyes narrowed. As in, the real Aiden Ford? Not the asshole who left money on my nightstand? Robert's eyebrows shot up. What? Nothing, Aiden and Raphael said simultaneously. That wasn't me, Aiden stammered. That was my twin brother, Caden. Raphael's expression shifted from confusion to understanding to something darker. Your twin brother, the one currently being framed for embezzlement while pretending to be you? You know about that? I make it my business to know everything. Raphael gestured them into his office, poured 3 glasses of whiskey. Sit, tell me everything. Robert explained while Aiden sank gratefully into a leather chair. The cliff, the murder attempt, Damien and Cole's plan, Aiden's recovery, and now Caden in danger. I need proof that Caden's innocent, Aiden finished, and I need to expose Damien before he kills my brother. Raphael swirled his whiskey, a predatory smile crossing his face. Give me 24 hours. That night, while Aiden slept fitfully in one of Raphael's guest rooms, the Mafia boss assembled his team. By dawn, they'd hacked into offshore accounts, traced money trails, and built an airtight case against Damien Chen. It's beautiful, Raphael murmured, reviewing the evidence. He set up shell companies, funneled Ford Empire money through them, then planted digital breadcrumbs leading back to Aiden's accounts. Sloppy work, honestly. Insulting. Can we prove it? Robert asked. Already did. These files will hold up in court and the court of public opinion. Raphael handed Robert a USB drive. Your move, little brother. The emergency stakeholder meeting was set for 10 a.m. Caden sat in Aiden's office, tie feeling like a noose, reviewing the evidence against him one more time. $50 million, all pointing to him. No matter how many times his private investigator searched, they hit dead ends. Mr. Ford? His assistant knocked nervously. The meeting's starting. Caden stood, straightened his jacket. If this was the end, he'd go down fighting. The boardroom was packed, 20 stakeholders, various department heads, and Damien sitting near the front, picture of concerned husband. Cole lurked by the windows, avoiding eye contact. Mr. Harrison called the meeting to order. We're here to vote on removing Aiden Ford as chairman, given the embezzlement charges, and the doors burst open. Aiden walked in. The real Aiden, leaning on a cane, Robert beside him, and Raphael leaning casually against the doorframe like he owned the place. The room exploded. Oh my God, there's 2 of them. What the hell? Damien stood so fast his chair toppled backward, his face drained of all color, eyes wide with terror. Beside the window, Cole made a choking sound and stumbled, catching himself on the ledge. Hello, everyone. Aiden's voice was quiet but steady. I apologize for the dramatic entrance. I'm Aiden Ford. That, he pointed at Caden, is my twin brother, Caden. Caden wanted to hug him, scream at him for being alive, and demand answers. Instead, he stood frozen, staring at the brother he'd thought was dead. This is impossible, Damien whispered. You're dead. I watched you die. You watched me fall, Aiden corrected, voice hardening. After you and Cole pushed me off Eternal Falls Cliff. Gasps rippled through the room. Shareholders looked between Damien and Aiden, confusion turning to horror. That's insane, Damien sputtered. You fell accidentally. The police report you paid for? Raphael spoke from the doorway, examining his nails. The detective who closed the case so quickly? The one who just confessed everything to my associates? Who the hell are you? Raphael Chen, I'm in the problem-solving business. His smile was sharp as a blade. And you, Mr. Damien Chen, are a problem. Robert stepped forward, dropping a folder on the conference table. Security footage from Eternal Falls, recovered from a private residence nearby. Financial records showing exactly how you embezzled $50 million and framed Caden. Offshore account details, shell company registrations, everything. Mr. Harrison grabbed the folder, scanning documents with widening eyes. He passed pages to other stakeholders. Murmurs grew louder. I move to reinstate Aiden Ford as chairman, someone said quickly. Seconded. All in favor? A chorus of agreement. Damien's world was crumbling. No. This is all fabricated. Aiden, please, you know I love you. You tried to murder me for money, Aiden said flatly. That's not love. Caden finally found his voice. Why didn't you tell me you were alive? I just found out you were impersonating me yesterday. Aiden's expression softened. Thank you for protecting my position, for trying to find the truth. That's what brothers do. They moved toward each other, and the hug was awkward and tight and 10 years overdue. Touching, Raphael drawled. Can we get to the arrest now? I have lunch plans. You're the car guy, Caden said suddenly, pulling back from Aiden. The one-night stand. Raphael's grin turned wicked. The one who you paid like a prostitute? Yes, that was me. Oh, God. Caden's face flushed. I didn't. I was drunk and stressed, and we'll discuss it later. Sweetheart, don't call me. Gentlemen, Robert interrupted. Focus. We have criminals to apprehend. As if on cue, police officers entered the boardroom. But before they could speak, Damien lunged at Aiden. If I can't have the money, nobody will. Robert moved faster, intercepting Damien mid-lunge and slamming him against the wall. Try that again, and I'll break every bone in your body. Officers, arrest this man for attempted murder and embezzlement, Raphael said pleasantly. The police moved forward, handcuffing Damien as he struggled and cursed. Cole tried to slip toward the door. Robert's head snapped up. Wait! Everyone froze. Robert stared at Cole, memory clicking into place like puzzle pieces. I know you. I've seen your face before. Cole went pale. You're the con artist, Robert breathed. The one who scammed my husband. Took everything from him, drove him to suicide. I don't know what you're talking about. Marcus Chen, 5 years ago, you convinced him to invest his trust fund in a fake gallery scheme. Robert's voice shook with rage. You took $500,000 and disappeared. Raphael's expression turned murderous. Marcus was our husband? Cole's eyes widened. Oh, fuck. Officers, this man is also wanted for fraud and conspiracy to commit murder. Raphael pulled out his phone, pulled up files. I have evidence of 17 other cons across 8 states. He's been operating under different aliases. Cole was handcuffed beside Damien. Both men dragged toward the door. This isn't over, Damien screamed. My family will destroy you, all of you. Your family, Aiden said quietly, is no longer welcome in the Ford mansion. Security is removing them as we speak. The officers hauled both men away, their protests fading down the hallway. Silence fell over the boardroom. Then Mr. Harrison started clapping. Others joined in, applause for Aiden, for justice, for the end of a nightmare. Caden turned to Raphael. About that money I left. Dinner. Tonight. You're buying. Raphael's smirk was insufferable. And this time, you're not running away. I didn't run. I strategically retreated. You left cash on my nightstand like I was a hooker. I was embarrassed. You're adorable when you're flustered. Robert pulled Aiden close, pressing a kiss to his temple. It's over. You're safe now. Aiden leaned into him, exhausted but relieved. Thank you for everything. Thank me later, preferably naked. Robert! Caden made a face. That's my brother. Oh, you realize. And Raphael's yours, Robert shot back. Looks like we're even. 6 months later, the Ford mansion hosted a celebration. Aiden stood on the balcony overlooking manicured gardens, champagne in hand, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of golden rose. Robert appeared behind him, arms wrapping around his waist. Happy? Deliriously. Aiden turned in his embrace. The company's thriving. Damien and Cole are in prison. Your brother and mine are disgustingly in love. Speaking of love, Robert pulled a small velvet box from his pocket, dropped to one knee. Aiden's breath caught. Aiden Ford, you walked back into the world when you could have stayed hidden. You're brave and kind and stronger than you know. Will you marry me? Yes. Aiden pulled him up, kissing him hard. Yes, yes, yes. Inside, Caden and Raphael watched through the windows. Your brother's getting married, Raphael murmured, arms around Caden's waist. So I see. Caden leaned back against him. Think we're next? Depends. Are you going to leave money on the nightstand again? I will never live that down, will I? Never. Caden turned, kissed him. I can live with that. They pulled apart as Robert and Aiden came inside, Aiden showing off his ring to anyone who'd look. The celebration continued. Music, laughter, family, both blood and chosen. Outside the mansion gates, a car sat in the shadows. Inside, a woman lowered her binoculars, face cold with hatred. Damien's mother pulled out her phone, dialed a number. "They think it's over," she said quietly. "They think they won." Damien's message from prison was clear. If he can't have the Ford fortune, nobody will. "Proceed with the plan." She hung up, started the car, and drove away into the night. Behind her, the Ford mansion glowed with light and happiness, completely unaware of the storm gathering on the horizon. Did that ending leave you speechless? Subscribe so you don't miss part 2 when Damien's mother strikes back. Comment below. Team Robert and Aiden or Team Raphael and Caden? Who's your favorite couple? Like this video if you're ready to see what revenge plot is brewing. Trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. The real war is just beginning.